Hi everyone, I'm Coleman Irwin. I'm a customer success manager here on the implementations team at Labster. Today I'm going to be going through a brief walkthrough of the instructor side of a Moodle integration, what it looks like. Let's quickly run through a few agenda items. What to expect, the overview process of the integration. Sorry, one second. Sorry about that. Do an overview of our entire integration process and what that looks like for your entire team. Then we're going to jump into a support overview, how and when to contact support. Then we'll jump into best practices for you and your students and how to use and get the most out of Labster and get the best possible experience. We'll go through a common cartridge upload, give an entire demonstration on how that works, and then we'll do a Q&A session where I answer any questions you might have, and you can submit those right on the right-hand side anytime during this entire presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and it should be sent over by tomorrow if you know anyone that's joining us late, or if anyone, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to leave notifications turned on. This webinar is being recorded, and it should be sent over by tomorrow if you know anyone that's joining us late or would like to view it at a different time, or if you're in a later time zone than we are. Let's jump in. What to expect once your order form is signed and received by your salesperson. Once the order form is received and approved, it will then go over to the customer success team for implementation. An implementation manager will reach out to you and introduce themselves via email. Then we'll be ready for an LTI. The LTI is handled by your LMS administrator for Moodle. We send them off the secret key and consumer key. They follow the instructions via email. You'll be CC'd on it. Once that LTI is successful, you're ready as the instructor to upload your simulations via a common cartridge. Uploading the common cartridge takes less than a few minutes altogether if you do the steps right. We confirm access with you, get those simulations all loaded up. In the common cartridge that we'll send to you is an all-course setup. So you'll have access to all of our simulations, and you'd be able to add all of your courses at the same time. Our support team is available almost around the clock. From Eastern time, we're online at 8 a.m. all the way until 1 a.m. Faculty and students should contact Labster support if they run into any technical issues or difficulties once their integration is complete. In the meantime, while we're getting things set up, during the onboarding process, your implementation manager is the point of contact for everybody. That includes bookstore, that includes any of the instructors that are on the course, and the IT department with any issues that are occurred when setting up the Moodle LTI. On our website, we have a great set of resources through our Help Center. So if you navigate to labster.com and then click on Help, you come to this page. Up at the top, the search works phenomenally. There's anything that you could think of, you can come through it by the search. If you're just regular browsing through, you can go through each folder or section, scrolling through, and we have resources for every integration. One of the best pages to see if you haven't already looked at it is our help page that will come over to you for the dashboard, and you can see how the dashboard works as a teacher. There's a separate page for a student if you wanted to see that for yourself as well. And this shows how the dashboard works for the gradebook that we host. You'll have your own, gradebook synced into the LMS, and you can see all of the grades. This gives you all of the different settings for the thresholds of completion. So you can set, you only want simulation attempts to be scored when the student has attempted 75% of the simulation, for example. You can also set a score threshold. So you can create a passing score. You could set it to 50%, 60%, however you see fit. By default, the best attempt is selected. So when a student attempts the simulation, it records the best attempt so they can attempt it as many times as they'd like. If you'd like to change that to the first attempt, you can do that at any time by going into your dashboard and changing from best attempt to first attempt. If you're curious to see how the students are doing in their attempts, you can go in, click on the student. It lists them by email address. It'll show you their average score, simulations completed, and the percentages. Click on any attempt to see more details, and it shows you how long they stayed on any number one of the questions that were asked during the simulation. These results, if for any reason you need to export them, they can be exported to Excel, to a CSV file, however you see fit. And again, at the bottom of every support page that we have Contact Labster support. At any time, if you were to go to Labster and needed support, this is for you or your students. You can go to labster.com. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a blue circle with a little smiley face on it. Click that circle, and that brings up our chat window. If you stay on a page a little too long, it comes up by default and asks you if you have any questions, like it does over here. So you can say, I have a question. Then the robot starts responding, and it will ask you for your name, your email address, and any other information we think is specific to getting back to you about the issue that you may have. The robot will attempt to help you with any question that you have and provide access. And if within a few minutes it doesn't get it right, it sends it off to one of our customer support specialists who will help you or your student through the way. On that side of things, the system takes in the information. It includes the email address and any further information that we would need to contact you if we weren't able to solve that problem for you immediately, or if it was after hours. 90% of the time, most questions can be answered by the robot. Specifically, the most common question that we're asked by students is when they take the first simulation, which is typically lab safety. That simulation, we have students encounter navigation issues. So they'll say, how do I put on the lab coat? And the robot will give them a response on step-by-step how to put the lab coat on and go through how to navigate using the mouse. And if they're still having difficulty, it'll give them a few more resources, including enabling keyboard navigation. Labster best practices. Ensure that the device meets Labster system minimum requirements. We have that listed on every page. It will come through on almost every email that we send to you throughout the entire time. We don't support mobile devices at this point. It may launch on certain iPads. We don't support it. We have put in place error messages and notifications that we don't support on that device. Student or you may get through. It's just not supported yet. We're working on that. Strong internet connection is important. Using the supported browser is also really important. Mozilla Firefox, the latest version of Google Chrome, seems to be the best. We don't support Safari, and we are working on support for the newest version of Microsoft Edge. Make sure Labster is the only tab open in your browser, especially if you're on a Chromebook. On a Chromebook with very little memory resources to dedicate to booting up one of these simulations, it's always really good to make sure that we're the only thing running to make sure that it's as smooth as possible. If an error does occur, clear your cache and refresh the browser before contacting Labster support. That's the #1 thing that we see, is that there are either cookies that are interfering or there's something in the cache that could be causing something to go wrong. If that does happen and you still can't move forward, opening something like an incognito window or a private mode window sometimes does the trick. So we're ready for a common cartridge upload demonstration. Common cartridge is bulletproof, super easy to use. When you follow the steps right, it should take you less than a minute and a half to get it online. The common cartridge that we're sending as of now to anyone using Moodle has our full catalog of simulations and is set up as an all course. meaning that you can take that same package that we send over to you and use it for all of your courses. You don't need separate ones. Most of the time, it won't prompt you for the license code. If it does, we provide that in the same email that we provide the common cartridge. So here's what it looks like when you log into either as an admin or a teacher into your Moodle backend. So this will show you how to import the Labster Common Cartridge into the latest version of Moodle 3.0 or later. So to begin, log into Moodle as a teacher or as an administrator, go to Courses, and select a previously created course. We assume that your course has been created. If not, you can start the course with us. On the administrator panel on the left-hand side of the screen, scroll down and click Restore. Once you click Restore under the Import a Backup File, click and choose a file and browse to your computer the zip file that we've provided you. That would be the Labster Common Cartridge. Here we've named it Moodle 3. Save as Labster. Here we have it typed in as Labster Demo. Click Restore. It's going to show you an error message that says that this is not a standard Moodle backup file. The restore process will try to convert the file and then restore it. Ignore this message. Just hit continue. Select a category, select miscellaneous or the course that you've intended. Continue. These settings are very important. Make sure that this dropdown says no, and that these three are checked off, which includes activities and resources, includes blocks, include groups and groupings. Hit next. So with the common cartridge, you'll see all of the Labster simulations. It automatically names the course. It names the short name for the course, all caps. You can ignore both of those. And then below are all of the ones that we provided in a specific common cartridge. It's showing you everything that we've selected one more time. You're going to hit Perform Restore. And then at the end, right where I couldn't pause it, the course was successfully added. Click the Continue button to take you to the course that you restored. So once you've restored the course and you can see it, it should look something like this. This is inside the course. Listed the simulations. When you click on a simulation, it boots it up just as if you were the student, and you can play through the simulation yourself. It appears as if you were the student. You can also copy and paste these links into new assignments. We can go through more on that later. Individually, it depends on what selections you've made and if we're making you a custom common cartridge. Typically, we're giving you all the simulations right now just due to COVID. Okay, so questions. If there's anything else that we can go through, maybe you've dropped them in the side. One of the questions that we have is, can Labster be integrated into Microsoft 365? I'm not sure what you mean by that. We integrate into all major LMSs that are listed on our website. We can go through and I can show you that in a moment. What if you don't see restore on the shell that is being used by the institution? Is the restore hidden somewhere under something else? This is a question that we'd have to get back to you on. This might be, there is a different version of Moodle, possibly before 3.0. If not, I'm not sure. Reach out to our support team. If you are currently in a onboarding process right now, send us a message and we'll get back to you on that. If you're testing this, absolutely reach out to your integration specialist and we'll get back to you. Does Labster have a separate dashboard to gather student results if we're not using Moodle, Blackboard, etc.? Yes. We offer a new product called Labster Direct. Labster Direct is a solution that does not use an LMS, meaning that you could set this up for any school, anywhere, as many accounts as you'd like. We can get you in touch with any of our salespeople to go through that better. We will be hosting a Labster Direct webinar soon. Can an instructor pull out specific simulations from the uploaded simulations in our LMS and only place specific simulations in a specific course? Yes, yes, and yes. If you'd like, if you reach back out to us, we can send you a common cartridge with only the courses that you select. If you want to pull them out on your own, it's as simple as once the course is loaded in from the common cartridge, right-click on the courses, or the simulations, I'm sorry, that you don't want, right-click, hit delete. Once those are deleted and removed, they are gone from that default first page that you saw. If you'd like to add them back in, all you have to do is reload the common cartridge. If we don't have an LMS listed on our website, how can faculty access the Labster simulations? So if you're not using an LMS, you can use our Labster Direct service. Labster Direct was launched a few months ago. It is a phenomenal product, works pretty well with every institution that we've set it up with. We also integrate, if you're at all interested potentially, is we do work with Google Classroom. The chat is always available to students while they perform the simulation? Yes. The chat is always available on the right-hand side. So at any time, if they get stuck somewhere, that little blue circle is always there for them, no matter what time of day it is. If it's after hours, we'll have to get back to them later. But if they want to revisit it at any time, if they're on the same computer using the same browser, they can go back to the little blue circle, click on it, and on the right-hand side, it says, see previous conversations. If they gave us their email address, we'll send them a copy when we reply. And if they want to check back with us, if they use the same email address, the threads will be together. Will Labster work on Android devices with Chrome browser? At this moment, we don't support mobile devices. Our minimum system requirements are Windows 10 or later, Mac OS, the latest version, and using Mozilla or Chrome. We do support Chromebooks. One of the only things, though, is that if you're using an older Chromebook, memory might be limited and some of the simulations may be slower to load than others. Once Labster is integrated, do students' grades automatically load into the Moodle gradebook? Yes. That was back when I was talking about the gradebook settings. You can set all of those things in your dashboard. In Moodle itself, you can assign point values in the Moodle gradebook. You can't do that from our dashboard, but yes, they directly integrate. The gradebook sync happens pretty often, so it should be updated by the time that you go on and see it. Any more questions? While I'm waiting for anything else to come in, I'm going to do a quick overview back to the, oh, I think we just got a question. Can we use Google Classroom instead of Moodle, or do we have to use Moodle? You absolutely could use Google Classroom if you prefer it. Google Classroom, the integration is great. It's fairly simple. It's even more straightforward than this is. Reach out to your salesperson or your CSM. The directions in the email for the lab simulations, yes, you can set them to a particular week. If you want to take the simulations out of that main list that come up in the course by default, you can take those by right-clicking on them, copy it, and then paste it into any assignment that you want. And you can hide all of the simulations at any point of time. That is also how you would set a due date, is by pasting that same simulation link into the assignment, setting it, and then setting how long the appearance is. We have Labster for the entire 2020 through 2021 year. Will the common cartridge need to be reloaded for the spring semester? Yes. So every time that you add a course, you'll load the common cartridge into that course, unless you continue to copy and paste the course over on an all-course license, meaning that you're copy and pasting those simulations from one course to another. Not recommended. Those common cartridges, they last about 4 months. The link that is in your email, once it's downloaded and you've kept that common cartridge file, it works for as long as you have it. Will there be any differences in terms of performance whether we use Mozilla or Google Chrome browsers? No. Typically, it's virtually the same. The only difference is that if you're on an older computer that we don't support, such as Windows XP, Mozilla Firefox does seem to work better. Community college asked if they already have it. It would be best to check in with the main person on the account for Labster to see if your common cartridge has been generated. Any more questions? Will faculty have a specific contact person at Labster once we're running Labster on campus? Yes, you will have a customer success manager who will be your point of contact going forward for anything. If you reach a problem that you're having a hard time explaining to support, or if you need further support on setting up more courses or adding to your account, at any time you can reach out to your CSM. You'll be directed to them once everything has been loaded in properly, and we've confirmed that you're online. How can we find out when the webinar is for Labster Direct? We will send you an email today with when we have an idea of when that will be. I believe that it has been scheduled. When loading the common cartridge, if I uncheck the box to a simulation, that one will not load. Yes, so that would be one way to do it, is to uncheck when you're loading them in, is to uncheck the ones that you want. Then you'd have just the list of the ones that you've selected. What about minimum RAM requirement for PCs? So right in our Help Center, that is going to be in our minimum system requirements. Labster simulations can only be used on laptop or desktop-based computers, which meet the following requirements. Dual core 2 gigahertz or higher, 4 gigabytes of RAM, Intel HD 3000, GeForce 6800, so on and so forth. And just as I said before, the latest versions of Mac OS or Chrome OS. Can we have a copy of the user's manual? So on the back end in teacher resources, we have listed for Moodle, if you take a look here, so if you were to go back to our support, I'm just going to do this very quick. I had the tab already open. In our collections in integration resources and then Moodle, we have the step 1 for the IT administrators to get it set up to do the LTI, and then in step 2 for the teacher, how to import the common cartridge. By going to the screen, here is the complete walkthrough in text of how to get the course up and running. And then down here, we have Get the Guide. This guide shows you how to do the integration step by step, including the LTI if you are an administrator. And down below, it gives all of the information for setting advanced gradebook settings and goes much further than we will today. Is there an available assessment in the Labster after the activity? So I think you mean by that is, does it show the grades at the end? Yes, and that shows in the 2 dashboards. We recommend that when setting up the common cartridge, that one of the links that will be in the list is, as it will look like a simulation in the list that comes up on that main screen that we showed you before. One of them is the dashboard. You can paste that anywhere you'd like on the course at any time for your students. They can go click on that dashboard link, or they can log in to this dashboard from the course itself, and they can see all of their grades and all of their attempts just as you can. Can teachers access all of the simulations? Yes. The teacher can access all of the simulations that are included with the common cartridge at any time. It's up to you to make the ones available to your students that you choose. Will a quiz at the end of each simulation be graded by Labster and entered into the gradebook? Yes. So once the student completes the entire simulation, it's considered complete, 100% complete. It then goes into the gradebook. You can see the score. Again, that goes back to the threshold of setting in the gradebook. Which ones you want completed. So if you want only simulations that were completed 100% to be graded, that's up to you. Can Labster be set up to unlimited number of time trials and select the highest grade? So by default, out of the gate, we have it set when you upload that common cartridge that it only scores the best attempt, and student can take that simulation as many times as they like, and again, it only scores the best attempt. Do we have a breakdown as to how the points were allocated? So in each simulation, it shows in the attempts. So if you were to look at a specific student, it shows in the attempts how many points that specific question or task took to complete. Oh, you're welcome. Uh, yes, so in the spring, if you've set us up for a year license or a site license, you absolutely can reach back out to support at any time. They will generate you a new common cartridge if you don't still have it. Looking through to see if I missed any questions. How many students can we add into a class? That depends on your licensing with the salesperson. What courses are available to Labster related to the nursing profession? So we have over 165 simulations available. The best way to search would be to take a look through our website by going to labster.com, clicking on simulations at the top corner, and then you could search through simulations and see if there's something that would apply to your class. Be best to talk to one of our salespeople about that. How do I access the teacher dashboard through Moodle? Yes. So if you were to access at any time the teacher dashboard, you'd go right back to that in the main list of simulations that comes up in the course when you first add it. It's up to you to place that link anywhere you want, but you can get there just by clicking on dashboard. If you're logged in as an instructor, it will take you right to the teacher dashboard. While we wait for more questions, here are some of the simulations that we offer. If I want to go through simulations a couple times before assigning them to the students, I can do that simply by clicking on the labs in Labster? Yes. So by simply going into the simulations list when loaded up into the course, you click on the simulation and it loads right up. This one, if I click on it, it's going to ask me for a license code, but it would load right up right here, and you'd be able to click right into the simulation. So if you take a look, was just asked if there are more resources for simulation. If you take a look at our catalog, we have a run-through video of what the simulation looks like. In the back end, we have, just in the regular catalog, you can take a look and read about the simulation. And then here are some screenshots from the simulation. A brief overview of how this works. You've probably already seen that. And then it shows you simulations that you might also be interested in. One of the things that we've had professors tell us recently is that when their students use a Labster opposed to doing the actual practical in the lab, is that they get a real world view of what this lab is for, this assignment. It gives them an idea of what they're actually doing this for. So it tells a little bit of a story. So this one, you're running a blood test experiment to see if you'd be able to help the patient in the need of needing a blood transfusion. It's kind of cool that it gives it a real life example of what this would be needed for instead of coming into a class and saying, today we're doing such. Yes, techniques in the lab can be searched. So if you were to go back to our simulation catalog, you can use the search right here and take any of the potential techniques and they would come right up. So if you said, current clamp, you put that on the techniques, it would show you which labs that those were in. Yes. If you don't have an LMS, we would provide you with access to Labster Direct. We went through this earlier in the call. Labster Direct is a new solution that we provide that does not use an LMS and it doesn't rely on anything like Google Classroom. We can set it up. You can issue your students logins however you see fit right through Labster Direct. Yes. Well, I hope I've been able to answer all of your questions. I'll give it a few more minutes to see if anyone else has anything they'd like to ask. I just copy the search. Is there a dissection simulation? Yes, there are a few. Unfortunately, I can't get them to populate in the search for you right now. There are editing capabilities on Moodle for each of the simulations and on the dashboard. When to use each one. So the editing capabilities allow you to place the simulations anywhere you'd like. On the dashboard one, you can place the dashboard link wherever you'd like. So you can put that anywhere underneath in the admin panel on the left-hand side. You could move that dashboard link to anywhere that you want. You might want to permanently place it on the main page for the course. Do we have simulations on surveying for civil engineering? I don't know. If we do, it would be listed here in our simulations catalog on our main screen. I'll give it 2 more minutes for any more questions. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me. I'm Coleman, C-O-L-E-M-A-N, and my email address is Coleman, C-O-L-E-M-A-N @labster.com. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out at any time. Thanks so much.